بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Today was the last day of a trip which was really an eye-opener for every one of us on this journey. For majority of us, it was the first time that we had ever experienced what we had experienced in the last few days. Our first stop was to one of the main camping areas that has been set aside for what is known as Syrian refugees that have come into the lands of Jordan. There are 4 main camps that have been put up by the government. The camp that we have visited is known as the most well-organized camp of all. There was a time when it housed 100,000 refugees. I cannot understand how it operated during that time. At present, there are 40,000 refugees left in the camp. It is such that it is like a prison, and at the same time, arrangements are made to make them, or to make it seem that they are comfortable in the camp. Wherever we went in Jordan, we always had police escort for our own protection. So the trip was organized very well, things were made very easy. But when you enter the camp, you can understand that you are in nothing but a prison. 40,000 people living, so it has been divided into 4 villages of 10,000 each. We entered into one village where we had about 300 parcels to distribute. And as aid is given, then another 300 people will be called, another 300 people will be called. The people in this village have been living there perhaps from the time that 2011, when the Syrian crisis began. 60,000 have already returned. We asked where did they return to, and why is the remaining 40,000 not going back? So they returned back to the lands of Syria, but that part of that land is what is known as under the Syrian regime. These that are in the camps are what is called people of the Ahlus Sunnah, and the Syrian regime is a very hard, staunch Shi'i regime. Many of them who ran have already declared that we will never return back because we can never trust the government with our lives. So they are between a state of you are in a prison and how long are you going to stay in this prison. Arrangement is made. When we entered, we saw the board, the United Nations seeing to all their needs, and every flag of the Western countries was there. You would not see a Muslim country flag, whereas Muslim countries have put a lot of money in it. But perhaps whenever they walk past, it's like a message to them that the Western world is looking after you. But they're not really looking after them at all. In the camp, they made arrangements that each family will receive 23 Jordanian dollars per month. That sounded like something very well done. When I asked that how much is a loaf of bread is 1 Jordanian dollar. So even if they just buy bread, within about 5 days, that money is finished. Now they will remain the rest of the month. What are they eating? Who knows? But when we saw those cases being given out, then those 300 that were receiving were very happy. And the other outside, about maybe another 300 or 400 that came, who were not supposed to have come, they were not called. The way they were shouting and they were begging. So I asked the person who was taking us around, that don't they know it's carrying on for so many years this? That don't they know that if they don't have that card to come and collect, it's not their turn, so why did they come from so far? And they know they're going to be chased back. So his only answer was, we have done this process and we do it so often. In a month perhaps they are coming here at least about 6 or 7 times. Those people supposed to have understood by now so many years. He said, but desperation makes you go wild. They are desperate just for a hope that maybe one day against the law someone will put something else in their hand. And because of which when they see their friends going to collect, they will also all come to collect. It was not easy to see because many of these children were born in this camp. They don't know that there is a world outside of this camp. The only understanding of how to get food is to come there and to scream, and then they go back again despondent and sad. But those that were receiving, you could see the smile on their face, how happy they were. Thereafter, from there we went to a place where renovations are being done. That was a place where many people from Gaza, when they came into the lands of Jordan, in the area we reached, about 5,000 families of Gaza have been allowed to stay. For different political reasons, the people of Gaza have no rights. They cannot enter into politics. Majority of the works they cannot get in the country. So they are just like people who are living, but all doors are closed for them. The place that they were given many years ago, they are here already about 48 years. So the village that is given to them was not a very easy village to walk through. They have houses, but those houses are like falling apart. So here the work that was being done was to renovate a house. So every now and then a different house is selected, which seems that this might fall at any time. And it just happened that one house that we visited did fall a few days ago. When we say the house fell, the top of the house has very solid rock. It could not hold the weight, so it was rock that fell. We saw the room where there was all rocks lying around. If someone was in the room at that time, he would definitely have passed away. Allah saved the family. There were birds, a lot of birds in that room, the man's birds, all of those birds were killed. Then we could see that this house is going to fall down in a few days. One person in the group, Allah inspired him and he said that, okay, I will pay for this renovation. The person who was told that this man will pay for the renovation, he never I would have thought he would have jumped for joy and hugged the person. But he looked a little bit he just looked normal, and he just said, okay, Allah reward you. I could not understand why that was his reaction. When we left, after a while, the man who was escorting us told us that he then went and he told this person that this person is genuine, he is going to do it. And tomorrow you must come out. And tomorrow the architect is coming. As he told him this tomorrow, the man started crying. And he said, you people are like angels. He said, because already about 5 people came, and when they saw the state of my house, every one of them promised me that we are going to do something. He said, but that tomorrow never came. He said, we are living, and that room got its rocks, and that promises, on each promise I got my hopes up, but the next day that tomorrow never came. That is why that he did not show that emotion of I'm so happy and thanked, because he couldn't believe it first, I've been lied to already so many people. So this is their condition. Then we visited houses that were already renovated. After renovation also, the state of the house is such, many of us in the group, it was like a unanimous feeling that our wives, our sisters, our daughters should really see this. This is like a practical lesson of what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, that when you're in this world, always look at those who have received less of the world than you. Don't look at those that got more of the world than you. If your eye falls on the one who has less than you, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, then it will not be possible that you will not show appreciation to the favors of Almighty Allah. It will not happen that you will be unable to show appreciation to the favors of Almighty Allah. This hadith, you will really understand it when you're looking at that person who is so happy that their house has changed. But if we walk in that house, we will not be able to live in that house. So what we will say is not livable for us. For that person, it is like Jannah on earth. Their life has changed completely. Thus we saw it throughout our few days. Whoever received something, whether he was coming out from nowhere into a huge tent, which we would have called not livable, but as he entered that tent, he was thanking the person who allowed him to enter the tent. Then the one who from no clothing was given clothing, even if it was old clothing, torn clothing, how he was grabbing it. Then we saw the one who was told from a very huge tent you will get your own tent. How happy that individual became. The one from his own tent who was given a container, how thrilled that family became. And the one from a container who was given a house or an apartment. We saw the different stages. On each one we saw and we understood that whatever little aid you can put in the hands of a person, it brings a smile to his face and it makes his heart happy for the next couple of years. To be able to help the whole world and to bring them onto a high level of comfort that we live in, that is very far from reality. When we made iftar today with what was called some people from the lands of Gaza, there it was not a house that was being given or a better tent that was given or pillows and mattresses or clothing. There it was just a meal that was going to be given and after that a food basket. But just at the meal itself, as we were moving around and trying to put one juice on the table or one juice for the child, and everyone was going to get, they were going to get that small water, that small juice, a little bit rice and chicken, everyone was going to get. But before getting, because these are people who don't ever see that food, it was like a small war zone in there. The amount of noise, the amount of don't forget me, the amount of I want my juice, give my juice. And just before iftar, when everyone got it, then that whole zone became absolutely quiet. And for everyone in front of him was like, I got my Jannah. Whereas that was a meal that we would not have made our own iftar on that meal. But for them, that meal was like my month has been made. The way they were eating and drinking and relishing that meal. So whatever little we can do, that will also be a practical explanation of that hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he said, لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا, don't ever think any good action to be small. ولو أن تلقى أخاك بوجه طلق, even if it just means smiling at a Muslim brother. That we also saw that there were certain times where we had nothing now to put in the hand of a small child, but it was just a smile, just putting your hand on his head, just saying to him, how are you? And he was running away so happy. The young girl was running so happy, as though they hadn't met anyone for so long before this. Again, my appeal to everyone who is listening, make an intention that some way, somehow, contact different groups that are giving aid. Our journey started when we desired to come on a trip. So the group of friends that made the intention, alhamdulillah, the group covered all expenses of the trip. But the company or the group that we used to facilitate the trip was Al-Imdad of South Africa. And here in Jordan, Al-Imdad is the only registered non-Arab organization that's allowed to do work and to take us where they took us. We found that their system of operation is unique. The people taking us around, we found them to be giving like their day and their night for this work. We would become tired, we would fall asleep in the car because of the extreme heat. We would help to distribute a little, then we would look for shade. They were on it in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. We are now tired and waiting to return home. They are preparing for the next group to come. Like that, there are many groups, and alhamdulillah, a lot of great work is being done by our Muslim aid groups. I also had the chance to see a group, some work that was done by what we would have called people who just wanted to put money with the Western organizations. And I saw like how on a very huge amount of money, a very small project is being completed. Whereas with that money that was given, much more could have been done. But as long as the individual himself doesn't make a trip, to see what is happening with his own wealth. If he comes, he will always be able to give ideas, and we saw examples in this trip of ours, where it was South Africans, where it was people from other countries who came, who saw, and who gave another suggestion, and the people who were doing the work were amazed at what a simple solution you have given, and they implemented it immediately, and we saw the results. This is something that people who are giving their zakat, a trip has to be made, and Allah has made it such now with so many Muslim organizations and such unique manners of functioning, that to move around, everything is organized from the airport to the hotel. The group that is coming, they cover their own expenses. It is called, if you want to call it, Siru fil Ard, to go into the world and to see what is happening. It is a dars of ibrat, a lesson of lot of advice. It is practicing on this hadith that look at those who have received less than you of this world, instead of looking at those that got more. And if your eye has to fall on those that got less, then it will not be possible that you will show no appreciation to the favors of Almighty Allah. For this, in our own country and in the countries around, and especially in Muslim countries, and in the people on who we have hope for the future of Islam, they are in very difficult conditions. Almighty Allah in His great wisdom understands why He put them through that condition. But Allah Tabarak Ta'ala has made that for many of us, our Jannah perhaps is in putting a smile on the faces of these people, a meal in their stomachs, a roof over their heads, until the decision of Almighty Allah comes, and they stand up once again with the flag of Islam, and they go forward. Until then, Allah Tabarak Ta'ala, whatever chance He gives us to be of service and khidmat to these people, many of them being Arab, they might be even from the progeny of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. My one friend, as he was taking me, he said, yes, he knows, because sometimes when he takes zakat to few families, then they say to him, they ask, is it zakat? Then they say, sorry, we can't take it. We are from the family of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They are these people, whatever khidmat can be given to whichever group. But again, I'm appealing to make a journey to wherever there is a need for aid, to see it for yourself. It is a dars for which you may pay thousands and thousands, but you will say at the ending it was definitely worth the journey. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala make it possible for all of us. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala continue inspiring these Muslim groups. They have done a great service for the Muslim Ummah. They have brought alive a Sunnah which was once upon a time a shi'ar of Islam. When the great Ottoman Empire was in its place, it was known that waqf was a very great thing, and the wealthy people before passing away would always make some waqf. The waqf had become so huge, one would say, when I pass away, this part of my wealth or this building must be used for the ulama. Another would say for the hufaz, another would say for the orphans. There were those waqfs that were made by princesses. They would make waqf that from this year the cats of the town must be fed. Somebody else would say the birds must be fed. Different waqfs were made because everyone said, I have to go one day to my grave. Before I go there, I will have to leave something on earth, that as it continues, I continue receiving the reward. This was a shi'ar of Islam always, and it is now being revived. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala keep it on a straight path. May Allah bless all these organizations to work with unity, to help each other. There's a lot of work to be done. There is no competition in this year, there is no fighting. Actually, it is everyone's responsibility to come himself. But without an organization to help, to facilitate, it is very, very difficult. May Allah make it that until recently it was UN organizations, non-Muslim organizations using the wealth of Muslims, and they were putting their own purposes in front. When Muslim organizations started, they are doing a fantastic job. But because the role model was definitely going to be the UN organizations, perhaps certain methods were also adopted from them. But as they are going forward, Allah's fadl, more and more of an Islamic environment you can find. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala let it be like this. Let it by the day progress. They search more and more in the Sunnah to bring it more and more closer. to the method that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would have loved the most, where the Western system would have been just to put a meal in the stomach of these poor people. The Islamic desire would be that after putting the meal, then deen must also in somehow be given to them. Deeni inspiration must be given to them. The desire to become hafiz or hafiza must be given to them. May Allah inspire the people who are doing this work to create that system also, so that when they are feeding these people physically also, some method can be made that they can feed them spiritually also. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala accept our small journey. It was a few days. Whatever wrong, whatever mistakes, whatever we were lax in, may Allah Tabarak Ta'ala forgive us. Whatever good will come out of it, may Allah Tabarak Ta'ala make us sincere in what we have said. The purpose of making these small clips, the demand of sincerity would have been that we come, we keep it hidden, it remains a secret between us and Almighty Allah. The only thing that spurred me on to make this clip was Hazrat Maulana Ashraf Ali Tanwi Rahimullah, when he was writing his wasiyat, then the desire came that his wasiyat must be published. And he said, why I'm publishing it? So that others can read the wasiyat and they can understand how the wasiyat should be written, what things should be kept in mind. My desire for making this clip was only so that those that listen to it, they also get the desire that they can also somehow make these trips. And inshallah a unique, a sunnat-e hasana can be established, where many people get ready, and the benefits of the journey that they get, may Allah Tabarak Ta'ala then let it be a sunnah that remains jariyah, and a lot of goodness could come out of it. That was why we have mentioned it. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala make this desire of mine a reality. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin.